All right. So we're on page Kuf Mem Zayin. And now he comes and he's using a pasuk, but he wants to, I think, coin a phrase or bring in some phrases here. It says, Achsach b'bedato. So these are two different elements. Achasa, that's best way to pronounce it in bedato. Achos and moide. So these two words, right? He says, Shehem Abba ve'ema. Now, it's a question to see, how do you see achos together with moide, but this is different. Maybe it's Aramaic, I'm not sure. So he says, Abba ve'ema, ki Abba shehu b'chachma nikra achos. He's called by that name. Ve'ema Rabbi shehu b'bina nikras moide. So this is new to me. So let's see what he says. And is this a quote? I don't know. Yud Gimel. Okay, and going on. So he said, it's a pasuk of Mishlei. Oh, here's a pasuk. So I'm thinking, how is it Chochma becomes my sister? So this is all Lashon female language. Moide goes with Bina, and it says v'achosi umoide. It says that indicating they're two different elements. Heim lashon achos v'kurba. Achos means brotherhood or something like that. Achava, brotherhood. V'kurba, relatively, and being close. V'ha'inyan. So what are we talking about here? So first of all, it is a problem to me to think about the use of the word achava, but he means achava like brotherhood instead of achos, which means sister. So he says, the Indian is like this, Kalilin dor b'dor. They're actually incorporated one in the next. Ki abba ve'imba kalulin zera b'zera b'tomit, b'bechinas achava. So this is their love, their brotherhood, the kurva, and their love for each other, or they're close to each other. Below shum period klal, without any separation between them. B'yud K. Now he says, but Yud K. I'm just noticing how he doesn't talk about it, why they write the K like this, but they do. But Yud K. If you're talking about Abba V'ima, so what would you have there? Abba V'ima should be Yud Vav Dalet K Yud Vav Aleph Vav K Yud. That's what I would have thought it would be. So he says Yud K. Looking at it like that. V'heim koludim yachad b'shtei osius Yud and K. And so these Abba V'ima, he says Achos and Moda. What was the word? Moda? Umudata, yeah, and Moda. He says that they're actually Abba Ve'ima. So he said, V'shnechem kululim zech v'zeh. They're incorporated one in the other. The Hainu Bina kulula b'os Yud shel ha'chochma. Bina is a part of the os Yud of Chochma. This is a little shtickle tar I think we know already. Let's see. B'os Yud shel Chochma v'chochma kulula b'os Hey shel Bina. So question how? So this is the secret of what's said in the first parak, Mishnah Daled of Sefer Yetzirah. He says Habein b'chachma, which is lashon bina, v'chacham b'bina, and then the chachma is bina. So this is like a mixture. V'inyan hu ki chachma hu os yud b'milkui yud vav daled. So chachma represents the first letter. V'os is vav daled, the final two letters. Shall hamilui na'asa becomes surah os hey. You can make those two letters into a hey, which is bina. Ki tzoras os hey. So the tzoras of the letter hey, morkevis is actually a grafting of shtei osios dalid and vav, which is those two last letters. The hainu os dalid melomala. You make it so standing up. That's you start with that on the right. But os vav, and then you have ubetocho. Then you have the os vav inside. So therefore it comes out like this. If you have that letter Yud like this, Bimbilui, and you see it in a Milui form, Kolulim Yachad Shtei Osius Yak. So the two names, the two letters make this concept. Shel Chachma Bina. Haben B'chachma, or Haben B'chachma, so understand that is Bina in Chachma. I think this seems to be an important idea here, is that just having skimmed it a little bit. So he said, now these two partsufim are called Abba Ve'ima Eloin, so therefore the upper Abba Ve'ima. The code came Ba'os Hey also in the letter Hey itself shall bevina yesh okitz. There's a little tip on it, but Suras Os Yud, which stands for the letter Yud. Bekeren zav is malamala mitzad yamim, so it's on the right corner, on the top. Shuchu bebechinas chachma hamushutefes ba'oz hey. So if you look at the hey and you realize there's a squiggle up in the right corner, then you realize that's coming from the olive, from the yud. Shuchu bebechinas chachma hamushutefes ba'oz hey shall bina. So this is the fact that is joining onto the hey. So this is the concept where you look at bina, which is the letter hey, and then you see there's a tip, that's the chachma. So this is in there. So that's important that he says as you spread this out. So you I guess the letter, I'm not sure how the letter yud. Let me read it again. Excuse me. What I meant, my question is that how did he get to the split between Abba Ve'ima Eloyin and Yisrael Savatavuna? So he says Abba Ve'ima Eloyin. Who is that? Go to the third line, the first word, it says Kolomer Shecha Bebina Kolula B'Selcha Chochma. Now that line's okay. So what is it? The Yud incorporated the Bina Kolula B'Selcha Chochma. Bina is inside of Chochma. That's the concept of Abba Ima Eloyin. So they're all incorporated in this letter. Hey, shall bina, shall uketz b'tzuras yud, because that little uketz on the hey represents, I thought he said Abba Ve'ima B'Eloyin, but became Zavid L'Mala B'Tzad Yamin. Shul bebechinas chachma chumshutefes ba'os hey. This is the concept of chachma that goes together with hey. Shall bina v'zecha v'sod chacham b'bina. That's chachma going into bina. Kolom shal chachma kolulu b'sod bina. So the concept of chachma and bina is the concept of who bechin shnei partzufim and the crime Yisrael Savat Tavuna. I didn't quite understand that, so I'm going to go on. So we said previously, Kitrin Rihimim. So let's just say like this: they're lovers. Ki Abba ve'Ibrahim kishnei ohavim. They're like two lovers. They can't separate. Shehem Tomid Ba'av V'Reyo Zera Bezan. They're loving all the time. Ki Lechem Nekroim Abba Ve'Ima Re'ayim. That's the reason why they're called lovers. The Mischabkan, that they're hugging together. Mischabra Bezecha Benzecha V'Rebesod Chibuk, and they're hugging together. Ba'ofen She'ein HaChibuk Nipsak Mechem La'oidem, in a way that hugging never stops. So he's contrasting these two partsufa and then quite look at it closely enough. So I'm not going to go back to it. So we'll try to figure it up. Which is a lower section. Let's say we're not constantly in the case of yichud. I guess he's saying that that's the part that actually goes into zair anpin. And as a result of that, what's going on with zair anpin affects them. But even so, that they're not always together. There is a concept of this chibud and this and they're one inside the next, or they become one. So let's take Yisrael Savatavuna. Let's take the first hey Rishona. Now, I think I just confused myself. He wants to say that the yud by itself is the same old thing as what we talk about. The yud by itself represents Abba Ve'ima Eloyin, and the hey by itself represents Yisrael Savatavuna. So if we're looking at the hey, then we're saying that Yisrael Savatavuna has some relationship. I don't know. I'm not sure if that kutz that he says is on the hey, exactly how that works. So let's go on. Afal Gav the Oz Hey Rishon to the Ravai. So the first letter hey, shall Yisrael Savatavuna. Nifredes min os yud shall Abba Ve'ima Eloyin, that it's really independent letter. And they're not Abba Ve'ima Eloyin, which are na'ases, which are made out of the yud, which is just the yud. But na'ases os hey b'fnei atzma, and the hey is by itself. Behind the kedei l'rmol Yisrael Savatavuna, so let you know that the hey, which represents Yisrael Savatavuna, Ein lechem zivug tomid, is to let you know that they do not continuously have a yichud. Kamo Abba Ve'ima Eloyin, like Abba Ve'ima Eloyin, which are really one all the time. Amnam b'kol zos, with no. In any case, he nechav Yisrael Saba b'chuber tomid b'tavuna, but there is a chibur between the two of them all the time. So the uketz b'tzuras which is the secret of this, the little tip on the corner, which is in the form of the letter Yud, Shebekeren Zaviv Yamin shall Os Hey Kanal. Ki Af Ba'ofen She'ein Zivuk L'Yisrael B'Savat Tavuna, that even we understand in such a way that there is no yichud between Yisrael Sabat Tavuna all the time. But even so, there's an aspect of Abba that's of Yisrael Saba that's inside of Tavuna. So it's the same old rule, is that you can make the parts of Yud K Vav K into the Yud representing Ava Ima Eloyin and the K representing Yisrael Sabat Tavuna. So then he says, now we go to a new place, and this is called nothing new. Oh, let me read it from the top. I was supposed to do that because this is going to be a lot. There's going to be lots of comparisons. So just up to a little bit, this is kadmo b'luchudoi. So the first one is by itself. The kula l'chad is chazer, but it all comes back to be one. I don't know if that's the old one or the new one. So that's what he wants to say. He wants to say that the male part and the female part of Abba V'Ima Hiloyan are incorporated one in the next, and he goes through that. Yud K, and you see it in these two letters, Yud K. Katrin Rehimin, like two lovers, the Mischavrim, that join together. I think that's where we're at right now. Let's take a pick up real quickly, just a little bit of this, of the top on this little one here. It says Shita 6 Nafkin Ma'anfa the Sharsha the Gufa. So they come out from the branches that have the root in the body. So then he says Lishan Mamalel Ravavan. So then the concept of a tongue that speaks great things. So he says Lishan Da Sasim Bein Yud K. But this Lishan that we're talking about, which is Mashbadas, he says it's placed or closed up inside of the two letters, in other words, between the two letters. It says this is what it is. Yomer LaHashem Ani. So this one says Zeh. He's going to make an entity out of Zeh. Yomer LaHashem Ani. He says, I am for Hashem, and that's it. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. Here we go. I think we do. Are we on page Kufnun Hey now? I got confused myself. Kufnun? Kufnun? I guess it went way out there. Kufnun. Okay, sorry. Stop playing around. Okay, Shita Hanafkin. There's 6 that come out. There's Rishisha Kitzvo Shel Zer Anpin. Now we're talking about the 6 meters of Zer Anpin. Yotzev v'nesaktim ma'anfa the sharsha the gufa. Mikoach ha-yisod shel erik anpin. Now the words are, it comes from a branch of a root of the body. So he said, Mikoach ha-yisod shel erik anpin. So the power of the yisod of erik anpin, which is down at the bottom and near where Zer Anpin will be, Shuhu Anaf shel shorish haguf to erik anpin, which is a branch. We're talking about one branch that comes from the body of erik anpin. So now we understand how is it sounds like a big secret here, that these 6 kitzvos come out. So you're dealing with the yisod of erik anpin. How does that manifest? He said, kitzvos are yisod the erik anpin, and they come from the yisod of erik anpin. So looking inside of the mouth of erik anpin, there's the throat and the palate. They make a yichud representing Chochmah Bina over there of erik anpin, some kind of aspect of Chochmah Bina. The erik anpin kedei lahorid koich hatipo shel sheshes kitzvos to Zer Anpin. You need this yichud to take place in order for the kitzvos of Zer Anpin to appear. And this is made. This yichud takes place through this upper yisod. Shuhu Lashon the erik anpin, which is like the tongue, which is the tongue of erik anpin. In other words, inside the mouth there's a tongue, and it balances between the chek and the goren. So anpin anikwa lishon mamalo ravervin, which translates to be a lashon medeberes gedolos. Okay, but Inyan, who the Inyan is like this: ki halashon mezavog as hachech bagoren. He says it is the tongue that causes the meeting of these two. And he says it's yichud. He says so what he does is he takes the chasadim which are in the chech, the tipas hagavuros bin agoron, and certainly drops of gavuros from the throat. So therefore it's called the tongue that speaks. Zivug hu b'so dibur, which we've seen before, was that zivug is the concept of speaking. So he said, I just want to say, you want me to I make a drush on that. So what is it? Where's the words? He says, who besod dibur. What does dibur got to do? Because dibur is really a conjunction of what's coming out of the throat, which is the air and the vibrations of the throat, and actually getting pronounced. To pronounce it, you need the other two. So you have to need the chek of the goron, so therefore that is a yichud. So now after that, the tipa starts moving downwards. And it goes down on the spinal cord of Eric Anpin, ad ha-yisod, until it reaches the yisod of Eric Anpin. V'gami yisod, the nikra lashon of the yisod, that's a lashon, or tongue, is the word for yishasod as well. He says, ki kavem sohim maskel l'mala b'lashon shebepeh. Because now let's look at what is the agency of binding, of yichud, and that is the middle line. L'mala b'lashon shebepeh, up above, that's where it starts, and mistayim l'mata b'yisod. So that's where the middle line comes from. The call kavim soy nikra lashon. So that's the language used for the kavim soy b'sod lashon mishkal. Then once back to the balance line, hamachriya be'emsa, which is in the middle, and it balances between the two. V'amo lishon doa. So he says this tongue ki al lashon zecher shachub yisod Eric Anpin. So let's the two. He's saying the two words are equivalent. He said, "Bo nimshach tipa zivok chek v'goren ka'amor." So we have a yichud that takes place from the tongue, and as a result of that the tongue and the chek and the goren, and it puts it all together and starts moving down. So he says that this is the concept of being saucing bein yud v'kei, whose sauce benignad bein abba v'ima hanikroim yud kei. So I still have the same question. Why does he use that phrase K? Why does he use the K written like this, K Aleph? But going on, so maybe we'll find out sometime. Ki sod Eric Anpin mislavish besoch yisodus abba v'ima, because the sod of Eric Anpin, yisod of Eric Anpin, is inside, who is mislavish, is closed besoch yisodus of abba v'ima, both of those. So in other words, the middle line yisod. And he's telling me, as we see in other places, that das is 10 spheros. Between the 5 and the 5, I guess maybe that's how you get to 10. I'm not sure, but it is 10 spheros. Mislavish b'sod yisodus abba v'ima, so one yisod inside of two yisodas. B'sod machriya bein abba v'ima. This is the secret of that balance. Ki chetzi yisod yamini, because let's take a look at das. Das has got a right side and a left side to it. Yamini the Eric Anpin, so he says the one half of the yisod of Eric Anpin, he says Nasach of yisod, the Abba is placed into the yisod of Abba. So it splits off and it directs itself towards Abba. Smaller than the other half, Nasach yisod, the Ima goes into yisod of Ima. Vosn is Navig yisod, and this is the connection. Causes the yichud between Eric Anpin minei ubei. So actually it's the right side of Eric Anpin and the left side. V'hotzi tipa shisha kitzvos the zair anpin, and that's the action that brings out the tipa of Eric Anpin. It's a big secret how that works. V'az nizdavar over abba v'ima, so that causes yichud. V'abba nasan as the tipa the ima, so this is how it actually goes. Abba through the agency he's saying of this lishon or this katong. V'abba rabba nasan as the tipa the ima, so he places the tipa into ima. V'zivug zeh shel Abba v'Ima, and then we see that this yichud that's taking place between Abba v'Ima, b'koach b'lashon mishkal shel Eric Anpin, is the balanced line in Eric Anpin, hasasim b'beluva b'Abba v'Ima, which is closed up, and as we said before, that yisod, which is the tongue he's talking about, etc., he says it splits in its way, and it has influence on the right and the left. It's also on Hamaluvish, which is closed inside of Abba V'Ima. It's a big chiddush. Ki mazel shal dikna de Eric Anpin, because the mazel of the dikna of Eric Anpin, Mislavish besocha ba'aba ve'ima, winds of abba ve'ima surround that beard. Besod das elyon hamiyached abba ve'ima. And so what is this exactly? The beard. Let me just go over this one more time. Ki mazel shall dikna. He doesn't say which mazel, but it just means that generally speaking, the dikna, I think. They're anpin, mislavish besoch abba ve'ima. Okay, they surround it. That's the same thing as being inside of it. Besod das elyon hamiyached abba ve'ima. And this is the upper das that's able to make a yichud between abba ve'ima. So this is around the area of the beard. So this is the balance line that I'm not sure exactly how it works. So what I mean, I don't know how it works. He did explain the sode of it, but exactly how the balance line is lined up on a balance scale, I guess in the middle. That's what he wants to say. It's the balance. And then it comes out from Abba into Ima in the secret of the Yichud, the Stipa. And maybe Raya, the Shorish Zer Anpin, called Bekindaisiv, Hebe Bekindas Yaakov, Minachazar of the Mata, of Hem, Bebekindas Yisrael, Minachazar Lamala. So, what is this proof that he's going to bring us that's going to tell us that the root of Zer Anpin is going to become Yaakov, because Yaakov is in the cause of the mata of Zer Anpin. How do we get this? How do we get over here to this concept? So he says, once again, from the top line, it says, Yaakov min achaz of the mata, v'hein bebechilas Yisrael min achaz of the mala. So now he split Zer Anpin. Kulin is chaver b'min ziva b'abba v'ima. All of this, whether you're talking about Yisrael, you're talking about the upper part or the lower part, v'ima is as a result of that yichud between Abba v'ima. Be'eva Rishon in the first time, in other words, in her first relationship with Abba, with the first pregnancy. That's it. We'll stop. Okay, thank you.